In a crowded airport, 8 men approach you. They are all larger and seemingly stronger than you. The leader looks you dead in the eye and says, "Your style is useless." There are hundreds of people around you, but no one intervenes, they only watch. In this moment, you have two options. Try to escape the situation or act like Bruce Lee. Bruce chose to simply stand his ground, and what happened next is still talked about 50 years later. In this video, you will see a true story of courage. If you like these stories, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. September 1973, Terminal 3 of Los Angeles International Airport. It was 2:30 in the afternoon. Outside, the California sun created shimmering heat waves on the asphalt, while inside, the low hum of air conditioners mixed with the echo of footsteps and the typical airport noise of flight announcements. Right next to the baggage claim area, in the waiting seats facing the large glass windows, sat Bruce Lee. Due to a flight delay from Hong Kong, he had been forced to wait. He had left Linda at home and had come alone on this trip. His eyes were half closed, his head resting on the back of the seat, hands relaxed on his knees, breathing peacefully. This wasn't a state of meditation, it was simply natural rest brought on by exhaustion. Over the last few weeks, he had spent hours in post-production for the film Enter the Dragon, going directly from dubbing sessions and editing meetings to combat training. His body was tired, but his mind was alert and attentive as always. He breathed deeply and slowly, letting the air completely fill his lungs before releasing it. In his mind, there were no recording studios, no journalists, no expectations. There was only this moment, this breath, this second of peace stolen from an exhausting day. Near the baggage area, a group of men in white judo uniforms caught the attention of several passengers. There were 8 in total. Belts of different colors hung from their waists. They had just returned from a regional tournament in San Diego. The energy between them was electric. They spoke loudly, gestured with their hands, and relived the matches they had just experienced. One demonstrated a judo projection technique on another, who dropped exaggeratedly to the floor. Laughter and slaps on the back followed. An airport employee looked at them with slight annoyance but said nothing. They were in their own world, oblivious to everyone else. They still felt the tatami under their feet, even though they were standing on worn linoleum. We ask you in the comments, if you were in a situation like this, how would you react? Answer this question after watching the video to the end. The tallest of the group was also the most serious. His name was Thomas. He was 28 years old, had short brown hair, a square jaw, stood exactly 1.83 m tall, and weighed 90 kilograms of functional muscle mass. A black belt, 3rd Dan, he had been competing since he was 13. His master had taught him that judo was not just a sport, but a way of life based on efficiency, respect, and realism. Thomas believed this with religious conviction. He did not tolerate fantasy. He did not tolerate techniques that only worked in the movies. And when one of his teammates pointed discreetly toward the corner where Bruce Lee was resting, Thomas felt something tighten in his chest. It wasn't admiration, it was something else. Thomas didn't look away. His teammates kept talking, but he was no longer listening. He knew that face. Not from the movies, because Thomas didn't watch martial arts films. He considered them empty entertainment, choreography without substance. But he had read interviews and seen articles in specialized magazines where Bruce Lee criticized traditional styles, saying that real combat looked nothing like what was taught in classical dojos. Every word of those interviews had felt like a lack of respect, not just toward judo, but toward everyone who dedicated years to perfecting techniques tested in real combat, not on film sets with wires and slow motion. One of his teammates, a 22-year-old brown belt, followed his gaze and let out a stifled laugh. "Is that who I think it is?" Thomas nodded without a word. The rest of the group turned. Now they were all staring. The conversation died down. The air between them changed. It was no longer celebratory, but something heavier, denser. If these kinds of true stories interest you, don't forget to like the video. This motivates us to research more and bring you more unknown stories. Several nearby passengers began to notice the attention. A woman reading a magazine lowered her pages. A father playing with his young son looked up. The group of judokas formed a sort of instinctive semicircle, all oriented in the same direction. Bruce opened his eyes slowly. He hadn't heard anything specific, but his body sensed the change. This was something he learned years ago when training meant fighting for real, without protective gear or referees. The atmosphere of a room speaks before the people do. Without turning his head, using only his peripheral vision, he could feel that intense attention had focused on him. This was a familiar sensation. He had experienced that mixture of curiosity, admiration, envy, doubt, and sometimes hostility countless times. He continued breathing, remaining calm. He didn't seek conflict, he never did. But if conflict found him, he was prepared. He was always prepared. Thomas didn't analyze the situation further. He made a decision, stood up, and began walking toward Bruce Lee. His teammates followed him with low whispers among themselves. "Thomas, what are you doing? Leave it be. This isn't a good idea." But Thomas wasn't listening. In his mind, this wasn't just a meeting. It was the defense of traditional martial arts against fraud, the test of the value of years of serious training, the defense of discipline against entertainment. Bruce heard the approaching footsteps, raised his head and saw Thomas. Behind him were the other 7 men. All wore white judo gis and belts of different colors. Even the smallest was 10 centimeters taller than him. Thomas stopped a few meters from Bruce. The others formed a semicircle surrounding him. Nearby passengers were now staring openly, some standing, others sitting, but all shocked by this unexpected scene. "You're Bruce Lee, right?" Thomas's voice was low but clear, charged with authority. Bruce stood up. The movement was fluid, effortless, just natural balance. "Yes, I am. Thomas, black belt, 3rd Dan. These teammates of mine are also judokas. We've just come back from the San Diego tournament." Bruce nodded. "Congratulations. Can you guess what Thomas is going to do at this point? Try to write in the comments what will happen. We will share special Bruce Lee stories with whoever gets it right." Thomas took a step closer. "I've read your interviews. You say traditional martial arts are useless for real combat. Some are, not all. What do you think of judo?" Bruce studied Thomas's eyes. There was defiance there, but also anger, and deep down, very deep, there was insecurity. These were the eyes of someone with cracks in their ego, but who hadn't realized it yet. Judo is an effective art. It uses the principles of leverage and balance well, but it has limitations like most martial arts. Thomas's jaw tightened. What kind of limitations? Judo works within a system of rules. It requires a GI, certain techniques are prohibited, certain positions are preferred. In real combat, there are no rules. The rest of the group tensed up. Some tried to signal Thomas to stop, but he had gone too far. "Then show us," Thomas said. His voice was now cold. "Show us how superior you are to judo." The airport suddenly seemed very quiet. The hum of the air conditioners, the distant announcements, the wheels of the luggage carts. Everything became background noise. People began to stop, sensing something was going to happen, even if they weren't sure what they were witnessing. Bruce hesitated for a moment. He hadn't come there to fight, but he looked at Thomas's face and understood that this wasn't just a matter of ego. This man truly believed. He didn't want to break his faith, but sometimes it was necessary to face reality. "I don't want to do this here," Bruce said calmly. "Why are you afraid?" The words hung in the air. The people around held their breath. Bruce smiled, a small sad smile. "No, I'm not afraid. I'm concerned." "For whom?" "For you." Thomas's face turned red. One of his teammates whispered, "Thomas, leave it be." But it was already too late. "I'm sorry," Thomas said brusquely, "but if you talk so big, prove it." Bruce looked at him for a long time, then looked around. This part of the terminal was relatively empty, far from high-traffic areas. There was enough space, and sometimes, just sometimes, it was necessary to show the truth to some people. What do you think Bruce Lee will do? Accept or withdraw again? Leave your answer in the comments and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. "All right," Bruce finally said, "but on one condition." "What?" "This will be a lesson, not a fight. No one is going to get hurt. Do you understand?" Thomas nodded, but that hard determination was still in his eyes. Bruce looked around. "You make the first move. Use whatever technique you want. I will only defend myself." "Only defense?" "At first, yes." Thomas took his position. Classic judo stance, feet shoulder width apart, knees slightly bent, hands ready. He tested his balance and measured the distance. He had every advantage over Bruce. Height, weight, reach, and 15 years of specialized training. Bruce simply stood there. No special stance, no special preparation. Just natural, relaxed, but alert. Thomas lunged forward in a classic judo grab attempt. He tried to grip Bruce's collar and arm, but Bruce wasn't wearing a GI. He was in normal clothes, making the grip much harder. Still, Thomas was an experienced judoka. He adapted, trying to grab Bruce's wrists. He moved into position for an ogoshi, hip throw. Bruce simply stepped back and neutralized Thomas's movement. The motion was fluid and effortless, as if he knew beforehand what Thomas was going to do. Thomas tried again. This time he quickly threw a foot sweep ashi barai. He tried to sweep Bruce's foot. Bruce lifted his foot, the sweep passed underneath, and as Thomas lost momentum, Bruce lightly touched his shoulder. He only touched it, didn't push, and Thomas lost his balance. The spectators began to murmur. Thomas's teammates looked worried. Again, Thomas said, out of breath. This time he came in more aggressively and attempted a series of techniques. A grab attempt, a foot sweep, a hip throw setup, even an unorthodox shoulder throw attempt. Nothing worked. Bruce was in constant motion, never where Thomas expected him to be. And then came that moment. Thomas made a big move and Bruce Lee did something to him. The next 7 seconds changed his whole life. If you're curious, don't forget to like the video. Thomas, full of frustration, made one last desperate attempt. With all his strength, he tried to grab Bruce and take him to the ground. This time Bruce didn't just defend. As Thomas lunged forward, Bruce stepped out, just one step, and used Thomas's own momentum. He placed his hand on Thomas's shoulder and guided him gently. Thomas, with his own speed and momentum, coupled with Bruce's minimal direction, spun and found himself falling to the airport floor. Not with force, but definitely. Time. Exactly 3 seconds. But the real shock came in the next 4 seconds. As Thomas was getting up from the floor, Bruce was already moving, but not aggressively. He was helping him. He extended his hand for Thomas to get up. "Are you okay?" he asked with genuine concern. Thomas was stunned. Not disoriented, just confused. This had started as a fight, but it wasn't ending like one. He stood up, declining Bruce's help, but not aggressively, only with pride. "How did you do that?" Bruce smiled. "You fought, I danced." "What do you mean?" "Judo is a powerful art because it uses the opponent's strength against them. But you were trying to use my strength. I used yours." Thomas frowned. "I don't understand." Bruce looked around. The crowd of spectators had grown, but not yet enough to call security. "One moment," he said. "I'll show you." This explanation was going to change Thomas's entire worldview. If you also want to learn Bruce Lee's secret, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Bruce looked at one of Thomas's teammates. "You come here." The young brown belt hesitated, then stepped forward. "Attack me, but slowly, just for demonstration." The young man made a basic grab attempt. Bruce gently guided his hands. "Look," he said to Thomas, "he is trying to push me. I take his push and redirect it. I don't resist, I redirect." He demonstrated it in slow motion. He showed how he turned the young man's push into a spiral movement, how he unbalanced him. Judo does this in wrestling positions. I do it standing in any position. Thomas watched intently. "And what about a direct attack? How do you defend in judo?" Bruce thought. "Look, I don't know judo, but I understand the principles of judo." "Show me." Thomas hesitated, then decided. Slowly and in a controlled manner, he showed a hip throw setup. Bruce studied the mechanics of the movement, then nodded. "Beautiful, very efficient. But there's a problem." "What?" "You're telegraphing." "What does that mean?" Bruce copied Thomas's position. "Look, when you prepare the hip throw, your body weight shifts, the shoulder position changes. I can see this change. I know what you're going to do before you do." Thomas frowned. "Then how do you not telegraph?" "Because I don't use fixed techniques. I respond. Whatever you do, I respond to that. I don't plan, I adapt." Silence fell. Thomas was trying to process this. This conversation was about to change Thomas's 15-year understanding of judo. To not miss this deep philosophy, don't forget to watch the video to the end. This goes against the philosophy of judo," Thomas said slowly. Doesn't it? Bruce smiled. In judo you are patient. You wait for the opponent to make a mistake, then you use that mistake. That is very smart. I just use a more proactive approach. How? I don't wait for them to make mistakes. I turn their strengths into weaknesses. One of Thomas's teammates, the eldest of the group, stepped forward. That's impossible. In judo we've been doing this for 40 years. You can't be better than us. Bruce looked at him with respect. I didn't say I was better than you. I said I use a different approach. Then what's wrong with our approach? Bruce thought. This was a delicate subject. He didn't want to belittle these people. There's nothing wrong with your approach. Judo is a beautiful art, but it is limited. How limited? Limited by rules, limited by the GI, limited to a specific range. I work without those limitations. Thomas stepped forward again. Then show us at full strength without rules. Bruce shook his head. No. Why? Because then one of you would go to the hospital, and I don't want that. Thomas's face flushed again. You don't take us seriously. On the contrary, I take you very seriously. That's why I won't take the risk. Another silence. Tension still hung in the air. Then one of Thomas's teammates, one who had remained silent, spoke. Would you teach us? Everyone turned toward him. Even Thomas was surprised. Bruce smiled. What do you want me to teach you? This adaptation thing, this responsive approach. And it was this question that became the turning point of the whole story. Bruce Lee's response changed that group's life forever. Pay attention to the final minutes so you don't miss the details. Bruce looked around. There were still many people in the terminal, but most had lost interest and returned to their daily business. Not here, he said. But if you really want to learn. We do, another teammate interrupted. Thomas still had a frown. You criticized our judo. No, Bruce said calmly. I spoke of judo's limitations. That's not criticism, it's observation. It's not the same thing. I'm not telling you to abandon judo. I'm telling you to expand judo. Thomas was trying to absorb this phrase. Bruce continued. You are a very good judoka, that's obvious. But you don't have to be just a judoka. You can be a boxer, a wrestler, a kung fu practitioner, all at the same time. That's absurd. Each art has its own rules. Rules are necessary for sparring, not for combat. Combat. Bruce nodded. In real life, no one is going to attack you according to the rules of judo. No one is going to wear a GI. No one is going to use only projection techniques. What are you going to do then? Thomas began to really think for the first time. He had done judo for 15 years, but always on the tatami, always with rules, always in the same environment. So what do you suggest? I suggest Jeet Kune Do. What is that? The way of the intercepting fist, but really it is the intercepting way, the way to intercept everything. Thomas frowned. I don't understand. Bruce smiled. Don't wait for a problem to hit you. Intercept the problem as it comes. I still don't understand. Okay, look. Bruce took a stance. You're going to attack me, but I'm not going to wait for you to complete your attack. I'm going to intercept your attack in the preparation phase. How? Show me. Thomas hesitated, then slowly began a judo grab attempt. As soon as Thomas's hands began to move, at the very beginning Bruce made a smooth redirection. Before Thomas's hands could get a grip, Bruce was already controlling them. Did you see? You started your attack. I intercepted your start. Thomas's eyes widened. This is timing. How did you do the timing? I've also been practicing for 15 years. While you were practicing judo, I was practicing timing. For Thomas, this was a moment of enlightenment. And have you experienced a moment of enlightenment like this in your life? Share it in the comments and don't forget to like this video. Another teammate stepped forward. Can we learn this? Bruce looked at him. Of course, but there is something you must not forget. What? This is not a replacement for judo. It is an addition. What do you mean? Don't abandon judo. Expand your judo. Thomas finally spoke. How do we expand it? Bruce smiled. He wanted to hear this question. Learn boxing for footwork. Learn fencing for distance and timing. Learn wrestling for ground control. Take what is useful from each. Leave what is not useful. And what do we take from judo? Leverage, balance, patience. Judo has very valuable things. And what do we leave behind? Bruce thought. This was a very critical question. You will leave behind rigidity. You will leave behind fixed patterns. You will leave behind the mentality of this is the right way, that is the wrong way. Thomas nodded slowly. This sounds logical, but it challenges our 15 years of training. No, Bruce said firmly. This uses your 15 years of training as a foundation to build something better. Another silence, this time a reflective one. Finally, Thomas spoke. Would you teach us this? Bruce looked at him for a long time. If you really want it. We do. Okay, but I have one condition. What? Ego control. What does that mean? Bruce looked at everyone surrounding him. You are very skilled judokas, that's obvious. But now you are going to be beginners again. Can the ego handle that? Thomas looked at his teammates, they looked back at him. We'll handle it, Thomas said finally. And so it was that Bruce Lee became the teacher of 8 judokas. This was not the end of the story. It was actually the beginning. Don't forget to subscribe for more Bruce Lee stories. Bruce took a business card from his pocket. This is the address of my gym in LA. Come on Saturday afternoons. Bring your open minds. Thomas took the card. Thank you. You're welcome. But Thomas. Yes. Leave this conversation here. I'm not trying to be famous. I'm trying to be a teacher. Thomas smiled for the first time that day. Understood. They shook hands. A solid, respectful grip. Bruce returned to his seat. The judokas began to walk toward the baggage area, but this time there was a different energy. Not competitive, but contemplative. 20 minutes later, Bruce's flight was announced. It was time to leave. He stood up, grabbed his bag and walked toward the gate. He saw Thomas one last time picking up his luggage. They made eye contact. Thomas nodded, a respectful acknowledgement. Bruce nodded back. And that was it. But the story doesn't end there. 6 months later, Thomas and his companions were going to Bruce's gym regularly. Not just on Saturday afternoons, but 3 times a week. They hadn't abandoned their judo training. They had expanded it. Thomas's fighting style was completely transformed. He was still a judoka, but now he was also a boxer, a wrestler, and a kung fu practitioner. The same person, more capabilities. In that gym, Bruce also taught other people. Hollywood actors, martial artists, and the curious. But Thomas's group was special because they were the first group able to move past the ego check. What was the most important lesson we can take from this story? We look forward to your comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss these kinds of inspiring stories. Years later, Thomas gave an interview. A reporter asked him, "What did you feel when you encountered Bruce Lee that day at the airport?" Thomas replied, "At first I felt threatened, then confusion, and finally opportunity. Because Bruce showed me that strength isn't just physical, it's mental, and that the ego is the greatest weakness." What was the greatest lesson you learned that day? Being a master doesn't mean knowing everything. Being a master means always being open to learning. What did Bruce Lee teach you? Thomas smiled. He taught me not to be anyone's enemy, not even my own. And those 7 seconds completely changed the trajectory of Thomas's life, because sometimes the greatest defeats become the greatest victories if you are open to learning. You've seen how Bruce Lee changed a life in 7 seconds. And you? What brief moments in your life do you think changed you forever? Share the lessons from this video in the comments, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell to be the first to hear about new Bruce Lee stories. In the next video, we will tell the story of Bruce Lee's biggest fight in Hollywood, the tension with an actor on set, and the solution that ended in 5 seconds. Don't miss it.